Talking of gadgets, we're talking gadgets in the NHS and how they might be able to transform what hospitals might look like in the future. There's a suggestions, some ideas that have been cooked up that could make a trip to A&E as welcoming as flying first class. That's the idea of one of the finalists from the £250,000 Wolfson Economics Prize, run in conjunction with the Policy Exchange think tank, where entrants were asked how they would design and plan new hospitals to radically improve patient experiences, clinical outcomes, staff wellbeing and integration with wider health and social care. Well, what does all that mean in practice? Earlier, I caught up with Lord Wolfson, Simon Wolfson, who funds the prize, and I asked him to explain what it's all about.
The prize is really about reimagining the modern hospital and taking advantage of what we've learned about architecture, what people's well-being and sort of clinical technology, what we've learned over the last 20 years, and incorporating that into the modern hospital.
And we obviously talked about it within the context of reimagining the NHS following the pandemic and so on. So describe the entries, describe the things that really caught your eye and what this might mean for changing the way a visit to a hospital might look in the future.
First of all, it's been incredibly exciting to see just how many different and new ideas have come through from this. So what's come back are ideas that fall into different categories. So there are ideas about how hospitals look and feel to make them both a credit to the communities they're in, but more importantly, to make them welcoming, comfortable, reassuring places in which people can really get well. And there's a lot of evidence that things like natural light, nice views, the green spaces can all enhance the ability of people to get better when they're in hospital. Things like the type of food that people are served, making sure that it's hot and enjoyable, but also that it's made with the right sort of ingredients. All of these things can improve patient well-being, right through to the more technical side of a hospital, how it's laid out to make sure that people who come into the hospital are seen quickly by the right clinician and very quickly directed to the right sort of person to deal with them after that, whether that be a GP, social services, or the services within the hospital itself. Then within the hospital, ideas that improve the movement of people, visitors, staff, patients around the hospital to minimise infection and to maximise the speed and efficiency with which people are treated. And it's fascinating, there are so many new things that have emerged, things like materials that are resistant to germs and which can be very easily cleaned, robotic equipment that can do that cleaning. All of these ideas we need to incorporate into the modern hospital, because the risk is that if we don't, we'll end up just building better versions of what we've already got and missing an opportunity.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because I mean, the idea of it's almost like a hotel. Some of these ideas which are being put forward. There's sort of airline style pods instead of cubicles. The idea of a starfish shaped hotel where you had sort of A&E and diagnostics and operating theatres and all that sort of on different arms of the sense of a welcome you would receive in a 5-star hotel. Of course, part of the reason why you get such a great welcome in a 5-star hotel is because there's so much money involved. And I suppose the tension here is that, is it possible to do some of these big innovative ideas? Everyone would love it if going into hospitals like a 5-star hotel, but you need 5-star budgets. And at a time when the NHS is, trying to deal with long waiting lists and so on, is there the money to do this? And ultimately, isn't it better that the money goes on care rather than, slightly more comfortable seating or lighting or so on?
Look, it's a very good question, and I think everything that I have learned about building, and admittedly building in shops, is that over the last sort of 20 years, is that if you think very carefully about how you spend the money before you spend it and get the right materials, the right windows in the right place, the right sort of landscaping outside the building, it doesn't actually cost you anymore. The cost is in the design work, not in the implementation. So of course you're right. We're not going to end up with, fountains and greeters offering you orange juice when you arrive. But thinking about the position of the windows that you have and making sure that people can see natural light and the views that they have out of those windows are pleasant, comforting views, making sure that when you walk into a hospital, it is organized in such a way that the flow of patients and visitors and staff and ancillary staff through that hospital is done in such a way as to maximize efficiency and minimize cross-contamination. Those are things that don't cost money. What they cost is thought. And if we put the right amount of thinking in up front, we can end up with much better hospitals at the back end.
And obviously, there's a real opportunity here. The government's committed to building more than 40 new hospitals. We did discuss on the show last week with Dave from the Health Service Journal about how those new hospitals might not be when it's a new hospital, not a new hospital, it's when it's a new wing or whatever. But there's clearly a commitment for new buildings in the NHS, and so is there an opportunity here? What's the sense from government that you get? Are they looking at some of the ideas that have been put forward in the prize?
Yeah, I mean, I think that different people in government are extremely keen to take on board new ideas. One of the problems with government in general is that it's not a great organisation within which to think. People, there are an awful lot of rules, an awful lot of regulation, and a huge amount of work. So people don't have the time and space to think about developing new ideas. So the concept of the prize is to provide a sort of worldwide forum in which the best ideas can be brought to light, and then government, individual hospital trusts, and architects and builders involved in building these new hospitals can use those ideas to really move our hospital portfolio forward.
That was Lord Wolfson, who set up the Wolfson Prize, the Wolfson Economics Prize, set up in association with the Policy Exchange think tank.